You know how some days feel so ordinary that you never expect anything life-changing to happen? That's exactly where my story begins. I was cleaning the living room, humming quietly to myself, when I noticed something slightly out of place, a small box, tucked behind a stack of old books. I almost ignored it, but something in me paused, like a tiny whisper saying, "Look closer." When I opened it and saw a phone I didn't recognize, my heart didn't just skip a beat, it sank. It felt like the air around me suddenly grew heavier. I remember just staring at it, wondering why it was hidden and why I'd never seen it before. I wasn't angry at first, just confused, uneasy, and strangely afraid of what this little device might mean. I didn't know it yet, but my life was about to change in a way I could never prepare for. Holding that hidden phone felt like holding a question I never wanted to ask. I set it down gently on the table, but the weight of it stayed with me. I kept replaying the past few weeks in my mind, searching for any small sign, any shift in my husband's behavior that I might have missed. And suddenly, tiny things I'd brushed off started to feel different. He'd been coming home a little later than usual, brushing it off as extra work. He'd seemed distracted at dinner, smiling at his thoughts instead of our conversations. I had noticed these things, but I'd trusted him so deeply that I never let my mind wander to darker places. But now, with this secret phone sitting in front of me, I felt a gentle ache forming in my chest. It wasn't anger, it was fear. Fear that the foundation I believed was solid might have cracks I never saw. I wasn't sure whether to open the phone or walk away from the truth. I sat there for a long moment, staring at the quiet black screen as if it might somehow speak first. My hands were almost trembling, not because I expected something dramatic, but because I knew that whatever I found could change everything I believed about my marriage. I took a slow breath, one of those breaths you take when you're trying to remind yourself you're strong, even if you don't feel that way. When I finally unlocked the phone, it didn't happen with anger or panic. It happened with a quiet, steady acceptance that I needed the truth, whatever it was. The messages I opened weren't loud or dramatic. They were simple, gentle, and painfully meaningful. They revealed connections, conversations, and plans I didn't know existed. Parts of his life I had never been invited into. As I scrolled, a soft heaviness settled over me. It felt like watching someone I loved from far away, realizing they were already drifting long before I noticed. That was the moment I knew my heart wouldn't be the same. When he walked through the door that evening, I could feel the weight of everything sitting in my chest. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't even stand up. I just held the phone gently in my hands, the same way you might hold something fragile that could break with one wrong move. He noticed it instantly. His eyes froze for a second, long enough for me to see everything he wasn't saying. I asked him in the softest voice I could manage, "Can we talk?" Those 3 words felt heavier than any argument we'd ever had. At first he tried to smile, to act confused, but the moment I placed the phone on the table between us, that confusion faded. What replaced it was something quieter, almost like resignation. He knew the truth had finally reached me. I told him how the messages made me feel, how the secrecy hurt more than anything written on that screen. I wasn't looking for an argument. I was looking for honesty. And for the first time in a long time, I finally got it. After the confrontation, silence filled the house. It wasn't peaceful. It was heavy, like the air itself had stopped moving. I sat on the couch, feeling both numb and shattered, replaying every moment of our life together. I kept asking myself how I hadn't noticed the signs, how someone I trusted so deeply could hide such a significant part of their life. My heart ached, not just for the betrayal, but for the loss of the sense of safety and connection I once had. Tears came without warning. I realized grief isn't just for death, it's for every dream and trust that quietly dies inside you. Friends told me to forgive, to move on, but I needed to sit with the pain first. I journaled, walked alone, and allowed myself to feel each emotion fully. It was in this space, raw and honest, that I began to understand something crucial. Healing starts when you confront the truth, no matter how painful it is. After the storm of betrayal and heartbreak, I realized the person I needed to focus on most was me. For so long, my life had revolved around my marriage, my identity intertwined with my partner's presence. Now, with that foundation shaken, I had a choice: sink into despair or start rebuilding from the inside out. I began small, morning walks, journaling my feelings, reconnecting with old friends I had neglected. I set boundaries and reminded myself daily that my worth isn't defined by someone else's actions. It wasn't easy. Some nights I felt waves of loneliness, panic, and regret, but slowly, I started discovering who I truly was beyond the betrayal. Therapy helped me process layers of suppressed emotions, teaching me that it's okay to prioritize myself, to protect my heart, and to let go of toxic attachments. I was learning that strength doesn't come from revenge or anger, it comes from clarity, self-respect, and rebuilding a life rooted in truth. Eventually, I reached a point where I could look at my past with both honesty and compassion. I had confronted the betrayal, set boundaries, and rebuilt myself piece by piece. But closure wasn't about them, it was about me. It was about reclaiming my peace, my happiness, and my sense of self. I learned that forgiveness doesn't always mean reconciliation. Sometimes, it's simply releasing the hold someone else's actions have on your heart. I chose to let go of the anger, the what-ifs, and the why-me's. In doing so, I discovered freedom I hadn't felt in years. Life isn't perfect and the scars remain, but they serve as reminders of how far I've come. I now face the future with hope, resilience, and self-respect. If you've ever been betrayed or faced heartbreak, I want to know, what would you have done in my place? Share your thoughts below.